And we're alive with the one and only Sam Parker of My Credit Guy. So welcome everyone to another Art of Homeownership live broadcast. We are so glad that you joined us today on a Tuesday. Typically we're doing these on Wednesdays, but we're changing it up this week. So welcome everyone. Hope you're having a great week. Sam, how are you? How are you feeling this morning?
I'm good. I couldn't be better. Grateful for a lot of things coming into that holiday season where we just feel so full of just good stuff, Val. Good day.
Yep.
Good day.
Gratitude. Yeah, love that. Glad to
Yeah.
hear it. Well, we are talking about serving clients with integrity today. So I think that can be, taken a few different ways. So we want to touch on what it means to really serve clients with integrity. So Sam, to put it in your own words, how would you summarize serving clients with integrity when it comes to mortgage?
Well, in a few words, I'm not very good at a few words, Val. Here's the thing that I believe, okay, is that in the mortgage industry, it's a very blessed industry, right? Like you have to be smart and you have to be good at what you do to stay in it. But if you can, then you can really carve out a pretty nice living for your family, right? Now, with that comes certain responsibilities that whether or not you like it, you have. Like one thing I remember that my dad used to say to me a lot was, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Like I would want to be a team captain, but then I didn't want the responsibility that came along with it, sort of thing. And he would remind me, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I think that we have that with the careers that we choose. I'm in credit, right? And so do I love it when a client gets sent to me that has absolutely no hope of becoming one of my clients? I'm not going to make between us any money off of it, but I still make sure that they get a full game planning session because I chose to call myself credit expert or credit repair company, right? So my point is, when somebody comes to somebody for a mortgage, it's not just usually, I mean, I know that they shop rates, right? Like that's the number one question that a client knows how to ask. And they're just asking that because that's what they know how to ask is what's your rate? But what they're looking for is someone who can guide them, right? And so many times, all I'm seeing is that they are given that rate, close that loan, and then maybe put on an email drip for the next time it's time to make money. What I would love to see, that would be good for my friends that are loan officers and for the clients, is just a more membership-like approach to it, where it's like, I'm choosing you to do my mortgage. Now, what happens next? What about the next refi? What would be good for me to work on? What is going to be best for my family? And I really love to see that integrity added in where it's like somebody chose me, and whether or not I like it, they're kind of looking at me as like one of their financial advisor type things, and then
Yep.
kind of act like that. So anyway, long answer to a short question.
That was a great answer. Well, I think it's also, especially in the mortgage space, because there are so many consumers that don't know a lot about mortgage or credit or anything that goes along with this whole process. So I think it's very easy for a mortgage professional to do their job and do it well, but not necessarily take all the steps that they could be taking because the consumer has no idea a lot of the time. Like if they have a borrower who has decent credit, they don't need any sort of credit coaching, you can easily close a loan for them. But could they maybe save money if they went to credit coaching and got that up a little higher? Probably. So it's just go ahead, going the extra mile, I guess I would say.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of times our mortgage buddies and are thinking it needs to be one or the other. If I give them advice, it means that this deal's not going to happen, and that doesn't. It's all in the framing of it, right? Like our buddy Renee Rodriguez has taught us how to frame things, and so you could say, listen, rates are kind of, you're worried about rates are forecasted to go up. So what I want to do is get you locked in right now, but I'm also going to get you a free credit review that I've arranged for you to make sure that we're getting you the absolute best terms. And even if it wouldn't apply to this loan, at least after this, you'd be on a slingshot trajectory to the next time that it's, these rates drop again, or that you're ready for a move. There's just ways to frame it where it's like, we can still do this deal right now and you can make your money and close this deal. And let's be serious too. The borrower wants it right now too, right? Like if you
Right.
ask most anxious potential home buyers, listen, I can lock you in at this right now, or we could spend a month or two and get your credit up and then maybe do this. Most of those guys are going to say, no, let's lock it in too. So
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that our friends are doing anything that the borrower doesn't want, but you can do both, right? Like you can educate along the way. You can frame it that, no, this might not apply to this transaction, but it's going to apply to the next, or your insurance rate or whatever. So it just doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. But in some cases, it is better to say, hey, client, slow down 1 month, 2 months, do some things. And then we're going to be able to get you into this different type of loan, or without PMI, or, just different factors like that.
Right. And what would you say, like, if we're weighing the pros and cons of doing that, what would you say are the pros and cons? Because a lot of people would say, I'm not going to get that more instant gratification that we're all looking for. I'm going to close the loan and be done with it. But then on the other hand, like what it means to be that true person that is guiding them through and giving them that extra step, how do you see that, or how have you seen that pay off for them in the long run?
Well, it's just betting on yourself. It's betting on that you actually have a relationship and that you're not just doing a transaction, right? Like, so many people like to say, like, oh, I do relationships, not transactions. And if that's true, then you offering sound professional advice to this borrower should be an okay thing to do. It should be received,
Mhm.
well, right? Because you're having that communication as an advisor as to why this would be best for them. And that borrower, they really should appreciate that, right? And if you see they're not appreciating this, oh my God, this isn't what they want, then lock that rate and move forward while explaining to them, being that educator, that, hey, listen, I can do this for you because I'm in a service industry and you're asking me to get this done now. What I do need you to know, because I am your advisor, is that we could have done a little bit better for you if. So next time we need to
Mhm.
be working on this, I'm going to set you up with a free review and consultation 2 weeks after we close. I'm going to give you some time to enjoy your house. I'm going to give you some time to enjoy this new rate, but we got to get back after this thing so that and so you lead to the next. Everybody wants to know the question, Val, what happens next, right? Like that's
Yep.
what at my credit guy, when we're going through our process over and over again, that's really a question that we're trying to answer most of the time, is what happens next from the client's perspective, right? And so we just need to tell the borrower more what's going to happen next from the viewpoint of their advisor. That as of right now, like if I do a mortgage with you right now, the only way I don't do all the rest of my mortgages with you is if I didn't like the process, or if you drop the ball and I forget about you in the meantime. Otherwise, as of right
Mhm.
now, there's nobody else in the world that I would do a mortgage with. I'm with you right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So all of these ongoing relationships that I'm seeing missed out on, it's just planning away from it not happening like that anymore.
Mhm. I think a lot of it too is just setting proper expectations. Like you said, they always want to know what's next. If you're just telling them and being transparent with them about the entire process, they're going to know what to expect and know what actions to take next. And when you're giving them that advice, like you're saying, like, we're going to set you up with the credit review after the transaction, you just need to communicate the why. Like, why is this going to benefit them? Because at the end of the day, that's the person that everyone cares about is themselves,
Right.
even though we don't like to admit that sometimes, but they want to do what is in their best interest. So if you communicate, this could save you money in the long run, they're obviously going to want to do it more so than if you did not communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is that you're writing momentum. People always undervalue momentum. It is so hard to create momentum. And then if you have to restart it from nothing, it's an entirely new process. Like if you let a client be for a year, right, without ever checking in with them, asking how their family is, after, this kind of goes back to something else I say, if your marketing is better than your product, you're a fraud, right? And so
Mhm.
market yourself as a mortgage advisor. I care about your family. Oh, what are your kids' names? Can't wait to help them get into this house. And then after that, you never ask about little Jenny again. They're they're
Yeah.
they're questioning things, right? You might even be at a disadvantage the next time a refi or a move up purchase is due. So to stay in touch with that client, to give them a plan, there's just no reason why, if you can tell them, hey, we're at point A, point B is next, and here is the path. then it
Mhm.
becomes a very kind of almost a weird thing for them to get off of that path because no, I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm on this path I've been put on, and they just did a great job for me over here. And what our plan is in a year and a half is that we're going to look at anyway, you get what I'm saying. But to have that plan in place for people just ensures that next deal getting done, and that, that they're not going to go anywhere else to get that deal done.
Right. And what would you say, because I have a few thoughts myself, but what would you say really, is involved with being a true advisor? Like, a lot of people want to label themselves as an advisor, but what does that actually mean to you?
Well, it goes back to that, like, kind of heavy is the head that wears the crown, because I think what I'm going to describe is more than what a lot of people would want to have to be responsible for, even though I don't think
Yeah.
it's that big of a deal, right? Like, they're going to come to you for financial questions now, right? Like, people will ask me about taxes. I don't have a good answer about taxes because I'm not a tax professional, but I have someone as that resource, right? So I can answer their questions, I can give them guidance, and then in the places that are my expertise, I make sure that they feel a one-on-one, eye-to-eye relationship with us, and that we're available to them. Like,
Yeah.
and you can accomplish that. Like, I know that there's people that are watching that are like, I don't have time for that, right? You are whiteboarding and planning away from creating that user experience without it being a manual process, right? It doesn't have to be a manual process. It could be that in your CRM, when you close on a loan, that you mark down that it's closed, and that 30 days from that day, a check-in email goes out that's from you that says, oh, hey, I wanted to check in. It's been 30 days. How's the new house? By the way, here
Mhm.
are next steps. Here are things that I want to ask you. Here are things that you could be doing. I mean, you can build things in through planning and automation that then let you focus your time where it really should be. So
Yeah.
it really should just be a user experience where once they're in your ecosystem, there's no reason that they ever come out unless you're not doing a good job, honestly, either at the transaction or at your follow-up.
Yeah. Yeah, and to give a glimpse into the process that we coach on with the art of homeownership, because the true advisor is really like that is a pretty heavy title to hold, and it involves a lot. But the way that the process or a lot of our mortgage professionals use it is they do a client intake call. So even before the transaction happens, they're asking them all the right questions. Like that, the questions that you ask a lot of the time are more important than the information that you're giving. Just have to ask the right questions and say, "Are you working with a CPA or a financial advisor?" And like our mortgage professionals say, a lot of the time the answer is no. They don't work with any sort of financial advisor. So just having that person, like you put it perfectly, just having those connections. If you have a financial advisor that you're connected with and are giving referrals to. I just saw a post the other day that a lot of people were commenting they get referrals from their financial advisor they're partnered with. Just having those sort of connections and being viewed as that go-to. So if they have any questions in the future, they're going to come back to you because they know that you have all the right people in your network.
Yeah. Well, and just by asking that question as an advisor, do you have a CPA or a financial advisor? What if the answer is yes? Then you would
Mhm.
say, can I grab their number? Because it sounds like
Yeah,
we're going to need to
exactly.
exchange information. Then you're talking to financial advisor saying, hey, do you have a go-to mortgage pro? Yes, I do. Well, after you see how this transaction goes, I at least want to have coffee with you. No, I don't. Cool. Well, now we're going to do business forever, right? But it's if you don't ask a question, then you're not going to get the answer. And the other thing is that, like you said earlier, what do people love to talk about? Themselves. And so if
Mhm.
you can make it work and make it work, right? Like, let somebody chat about themselves and also give you more information that you need. That's just
Yep.
a win-win. So,
Yeah.
but you got to be willing to talk to them for a second as well, rather than just, or if you're going to do forms, you have to be, here's the thing that people, they look at automation as getting away from clients, right? Where it's not. You can accomplish, like what we just talked about. There's going to be some people that are like, I don't have time to have that conversation, or just I'm being
Mhm.
honest with myself. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to
Yeah.
consistently talk to these people. And that's fair. And I appreciate when people will at least say, I'm just not going to do that. And so it doesn't apply to me, right? Then what you have to be willing to do though is geek out on the automation and the user experience to make up for that, because you can give a client a really cool user experience that doesn't involve me sitting here being like, okay, now Val, I wanted to chat with you. Like I could get on my computer on my terms at 5 a.m., record a video that goes, hey Val, thanks so much for choosing us. I wanted to go through a few things. Write down here's some questions, fill these out, press submit, and then my team's going to be back in touch. You still feel that personal touch because I
Yeah.
said Val, but I did it on my terms in a video, and then I sent it to you with probably a checklist that you can fill out for me, and then I'm gathering all that information. So my point is, with user experience, you can either do it like this, one-on-one, or you can put some effort into making sure that that automated experience still feels like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because automation's not gonna fail you. If it's set, then it's less likely that, well, it's impossible that anything is going to fall through the cracks. Like, that's going to happen every single time. You don't have to remember to do it.
Right.
So, a lot of the time, as long as, like you said, you're making it a more human experience throughout, that can even be better if you have automation in your process.
Oh, it is. I mean, I couldn't imagine if I had to start all the way over at 0 people. I would start with a CRM and automations, because then everything that you do, you can make sure that the quality is there every single time. Plus, it's like having 1,000 of you out working while you're sleeping, sending
Yep.
emails, sending videos, answering questions, all that good stuff. You gotta have automations to back you up.
Yep. So, Sam, when it comes to credit restoration, what do you see a lot of the time in the mortgage space that people are not necessarily doing? And it's not a bad thing. And they wouldn't, as a mortgage professional, it wouldn't raise their red flag to say, I shouldn't be doing this. Um, but they could still take that extra step to do what is best for consumers and best for their clients. What is the most common thing that you see?
Yeah, I would say just the overgeneralization of I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this sort of thing, and it's fine and it's true. Okay, meaning most loan officers can go. I'm going to look at this credit report, and then I can make some initial assessments. That's true, but sometimes there's things that can be done to either save the client money or to increase the scores even more. And if we just were able to be a partner with you, because it costs the loan officer nothing, right, to send a review over
Right.
to us, just so that we can either second what they see or give additional suggestions, or maybe outside the box suggestions that get them more points or save the borrower money. And it didn't cost the loan officer or the borrower money, right? So they get very ingrained in like, it would be an admission of guilt if they sent a file over for a review. It would be saying, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's just not true, right? Like, just get a
Hmm.
second look, see what's going on. And then if I can see a serious problem that's going to bite you as you're going through underwriting, then we can identify that. And then the other thing, Val, is zero action plans after closing. I just don't see it in this industry. I don't see
Yeah.
loan officers taking the time to say, here's what happens next. And it's troubling just from a holistic standpoint, right? Like, again, these people trust you. They're looking to you for advisorship. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's your fiduciary responsibility, whatever you want to say, right? But then
Hmm.
beyond that, like, so many loan officers are my friends and I care about them, or, I want so much good for them and their families. And they're doing one deal with somebody, and then they're not ensuring that that turns into an additional deal when it could be good for their family, good for their borrower's family, everybody, just by giving a roadmap to here's how we do business again, and here's how
Right.
it makes sense for you and your family. And so I'm just not seeing that post close. And right now we have lenders that are going down into the low 500s to qualify homeowners for financing, and then we're leaving them there. We're leaving people with 540s, 560s, except for now they have a $3,000 payment to add to their budget when they didn't know how to budget before, right? And so I get it. I get it. That borrower wants the deal. They're going to go somewhere else, right? They're going to get the deal done. You're feeding your family. You give them the best deal you possibly can, and you sleep well at night knowing you did. But give them that next course of action that gets them actually in that position that you would want to be in. The one that would be good enough for you or for your brother or for your sister. And that way you can hold your head high knowing that not only did you get that anchor deal locked up so that they become homeowners instead of renters, but now you're putting them on that trajectory to true, generational wealth or savings, or at least better habits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. The holistic approach is really, I feel like that's where we're headed because you see Zillow starting the iBuyer program falls off. We know that the technology and the automated kind of experience for someone is not going to cut it when it comes to doing something this large in their life. If they're getting their mortgage, the biggest investment they're ever going to make, they still want that true advisor. So, like you said, the follow-up process is important and setting the expectations, but it's even like taking it a step further to where if your consumers post close are coming to you for advice, that's when you know that you've won. Like you've reached the point where you're a true advisor. So many people worry about the follow-up process and staying in front of them, but if you don't even have to work to stay in front of them and they're coming to you, that's even better. So you just have to position yourself as that expert and advisor.
It's seriously like in this world that we live in the mortgage industry and in sales in general, and maybe it's just the world, right? We get so caught up in the competition and the race part of it, we don't even realize when we've won, right? We don't even realize like my credit guy technically, okay, if I wanted to really walk this walk, and I don't quite yet, we would close our doors to any new business at all ever, right? Because we have tens of thousands of people that have already raised their hand and said, I'm interested in doing business with you, right? And so like most companies, we're doing our best at, servicing them. And I think we do a good job, but we're also taking on new clients. But I'm just saying, like, there's so many lenders out there that it's like their database is so huge and they're spending time and money going out creating new leads. And it's like, call up the people that like you already, or send them some automation that engages them, engages their family, create something that gets them to click, gets them to put their name and information in because you're bringing value. You already have the trust established, right? And so, and I mean, I'm saying this, as much to myself as to anybody, but every few months, it's just like, it hits me and it's like, I got to do better for the people that already like me. Like,
right.
why am I figuring out how to put new people in when there's people standing here going, what do you got next, Sam?
Yeah. And how do you go about that? Trying to engage those people that already do like you. I mean, what is the outreach? Not to put you on the spot here, Sam.
No,
Just curious.
It is annoying how simple it is. It's asking a question. It's checking in on them to see how they are. It's posting a video that pertains to them. It's emailing them. It's sending a bomb to them. I mean, it's pathetic how simple it is to stay in front of people, and almost to the point of like, if you're doing it now, you're maybe even overcomplicating it because these people don't want your beautiful marketing email either. They want to know you give a shit. So what they really want to see is that short text, and you can automate this, right? Like the user experience can still be there by automating it. Just that text that just says like, how's the new house doing? Hope all is well.
Yep.
That's it. Don't talk about leads, rates, anything. Act like you give a shit, and please do, right? And if you don't, let's get on that path. And that's what, I know Art of Home Ownership really is going to help this whole industry with, is to really act like it and to be those advisors. But that's what I would say is simplify it and then do it. Don't overthink it. Just what would you say? What would you want somebody, that you just bought your last car from, your last whatever from, where you felt vulnerable, where you trusted, and where that person came through for you? What would you want them to say next? And then do that, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's
Yeah.
great, Sam. You're preaching.
Yeah, yeah. One exercise that I do a lot, Val, and this is probably just more an admission of multiple personalities, is like as I'm doing stuff back here on the board, right? I'll do two different thought tracks. I'll do, well, sometimes three, because I'll do the my credit guy one, like how do we do it, and then I'll do the loan officer and the client. Meaning, and I kind of like to do little voices, and again, this is going to make me dorky, but I'll build it the way that I thought that it should be. And then I'll like try to put on my buyer hat, right? So I'll kind of get a little voice and I'll be like, oh, this is really cool. I mean, I was disappointed today when I went to my lender. They turned me down because of credit. But what they did right away was they gave me a resource for a free review. And they got a hold of me within an hour and told me what my options were. And I'll like build it out like, and I'll get to some places where I'll be like, and then they called me a day later. And then I'll be like, nope, we cannot put a day in there. We've got to build that in there, right? And so just really trying to get into that borrower's point of view. And I think, and it's okay, folks, if you're watching this, but there's going to be a lot of you that when you go, and then we close, and I was so happy that I had done business with Val, and then I never heard from her again until it was time for her to try to get another refinance.
Yep.
And she didn't text me back after I said I was interested. So I clicked a button. You know what I mean? I mean, when you start doing it like that and trying to have true empathy about how would this feel as a borrower, it really kind of writes itself at that point. And then what you'll realize is, oh no, there's quite a few moving pieces here, right? And so any help that you can ever get, like AOH, with putting that together to be the person that you really want to be, but that maybe you're not right now. It's just going to make business better. You're going to feel better about things. Your family's going to do better because of it. So
yeah. And that's a great point. And this is Danny Harani's words, not my own. But he said, like the Art of Homeownership platform it really gives you a chance to act yourself into a new way of thinking. So you're adopting this platform and you see that this is really going to allow me to be a true advisor. So you get in that mindset of, okay, I'm giving them all these resources, so I have to think like a true advisor and I have to provide all of these resources to them and communicate my value. So you're doing great things for the mortgage community, Sam. Appreciate you. So let's wrap this all up. What would be your one action item to take away from today?
Well, I mean, if it's for me, I would love to chat with anybody that's watching just about how we can really start to help you be that advisor while doing no more work, right? Like same amount of time, same action, same amount of words coming out of your mouth, just different, and giving your client hope and putting your clients in an incubator that will come back to you. Of course, if it's not with us or maybe both, get with Val and chat about AOH, because whether or not you engage with either of us, ultimately, the fact that you would be looking at My Credit Guy or at AOH is getting your brain headed down that direction of knowing that you could and should do a little bit better, and that it can be very easy just to partner with companies that make you look better or do better without actually having to do more. Because at the end of the day, and I think Val, you and AOH want this as well, I want you to spend less time in the office. I want you to be with your family more. I want you to make more money while doing fewer things, but taking care of the people that are standing up, raising their hand and saying, I like you. I want to do business with you. And we just need to figure out how to take care of all of those people, because if we did, you wouldn't have to look for leads anymore and you could spend more time at home. So that's what we're going for, Val.
Let's do it, Sam.
Woo!
Well, we will send out a full recap for anyone who's watching. We have a comment below. If you just fill out that form, you'll get a full recap and recording of this session. But Sam, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for doing great things for the industry. We look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you, Val. Always a pleasure.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.